New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Hello and welcome back to Global Focus Today. I am Reverend Dr. Sharri Johnson, your host, and this week's guest is a return of Reverend Dr. Jerry Troyer. You'll remember he was here last year and was really fascinating ministry. He is a New Thought religious science minister, ordained in 2010, and he's the board president of the affiliated New Thought Network, which is where I met him. He speaks at all kinds of New Thought centers and churches, including Unity, CSL, Divine Science, and Independence. But the really cool thing is he is the founding board member and currently the director of relationship development for a ministry called Urban Street Angels. I'm not going to tell you any more about it because hearing him talk about it is really great. But I want you to know it's just scrumptious. And that he lives in La Mesa, which is a suburb of San Diego, with his English cream golden retriever Maggie. And his son Brandon and family, including 7 grandchildren, live near Eugene, Oregon. Please help me welcome Reverend Dr. Jerry Troyer. Thank you so much for coming back. I couldn't wait for you to come back and tell us more about the Urban Street Angels.
My pleasure. It's great to be with you. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I know that nothing stands still, and I'm pretty sure that absolutely applies to Urban Street Angels. So tell us what's been going on in the last 6 months since you were here.
Thank you. So just as a review, Urban Street Angels is a nonprofit organization in San Diego that works to end youth homelessness. And we do that by providing bridge and temporary housing, employment, education referrals, and most especially hope to homeless 18 to 24-year-olds. These are young people who aged out of foster care and had no place to go, or were in an abusive situation at home, and there was no home to stay in, or came out as LGBTQ and were kicked out of their house, or whatever, or just a variety of reasons. But as of last night, we had 146 young people, homeless young people, that had a warm and safe place to sleep because of one of our programs in San Diego.
So how do they find you?
I'm sorry?
How do they find you?
So we have, because we've been doing this for 12 years. Oh my goodness. We've been doing this for 12 years and have been growing over time. And so we have wonderful relationships with the County of San Diego, as well as a lot of organizations that serve this population. So again, it's just 18 to 24-year-olds. So we have relationships with several different organizations in San Diego. And so they know that if they come across a youth that needs housing, we're the first ones they call. Now, when they call, chances are they won't get in today because we have a waiting list of between 40 and 60 young people, but they got on the waiting list, and we help them with referrals to find a place to sleep in the meantime until we have a bed for them.
So what you have is not like a shelter where they just go overnight and then they go someplace else during the day. You actually have programs and everything. It's like you take them in and give them another start.
Right. And so they live with us, depending on the program, they're with us between 4 and 9 months. And during that time, they're assigned a case manager and a peer support person to help them with getting back on their feet, getting their ID and their birth certificate if they need it, helping them with getting enrolled in school or finding a job or getting involved in one of our new trade schools, which is new since last we spoke. So, and as well as offering, we do a lot of life skills training. So how do I create a resume? How do I find a job? How do I manage money? How do I deal with other people and with life? So a lot of those kinds of things that ideally we learned growing up in a loving home environment that so many of our young people didn't. And so we want to fill in that gap and prepare them to be successful in the next chapter of their lives.
That is just astounding to me. So do you have, I guess I would call them statistics, success statistics? Do you follow them? Do you know where they go when they leave y'all?
We do. So they're with us again between 4 and 9 months. And at the end of that time, we don't kick them out into the street, but we're working with them to get into their first apartment, to make sure that they have a job. The County of San Diego helps to subsidize their apartment for the first several months. And then we stay in touch with them. And because we don't want them to wind up back on the street, so we want them to be successful. So we do stay in touch with them. So since last we spoke, we have introduced a trade school program in partnership with the San Diego Padres Foundation. They've been amazingly generous with us and are helping us with this. But youth in our housing program can go to trade school and learn how to be a cosmetologist, an EMT or a medical assistant, a welder. We had 5 young men graduate last week from our construction program. So they have gone through the training, and if they complete the training, they are guaranteed employment after they finish that. So a lot of different opportunities, and quite possibly in areas that they would have never dreamed they could do. Again, working with them to be successful in the next chapter of their lives. And so that's a long answer to a short question.
Oh, that's a great
83% or so of the youth that complete our program graduate, get their first apartment, and go on and be successful in their lives. And this is really important. And this age group is really important because more than 50%, more than 50% of homeless in San Diego were homeless at this age. So we believe that by working with this age group and getting them back on their feet and helping them be successful, that's how we break the cycle of homelessness in San Diego.
Okay, now 2 questions came into my mind while you were talking. Let me see if I can remember both of them. The first one, and I don't remember asking you this last time. You mentioned 5 young men just graduated from the construction program. Is your program exclusively for male youth, or you help
men and women?
Yep. And LGBTQ and the whole shooting match. Excellent.
Absolutely.
And trans, I presume also. Okay, second question. Have you had, you've been 12 years now, so you've had some folks who've graduated and been gone long enough to be actual adults, and has anybody come back to work with you? You said something about peer assistance.
Support. Yes, peer support people, case managers. Actually, we have two staff members who were youth in our program before, graduated, got their own place, and have come back to be employees, which is incredibly cool.
Oh, as a grandma, I have to say that's the coolest thing you've said yet for me.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
that's wonderful. So, um, you got any cool stories to tell us about neat stuff that's happened since the last time you were here?
So we're really excited about the trade school program. I think we have about 70 youth housed. So they sleep with us. They eat 3 nutritious meals a day with us. They get the support from their case manager and peer support people. We're helping them, as I mentioned, helping them find a job or get into school or whatever they need. So we have 70 youth in downtown San Diego, about 60 in La Mesa, which is about 10 miles east of downtown San Diego. And then we also have 18 youth in our apartment building. So when they've completed the program and they're ready to take the responsibility, if there is a vacancy, they can move into their first apartment still under the Urban Street Angels umbrella. And so they still have the case management and the peer support while they are living real life, for lack of a better expression. So they're calling to get the cable hooked up, and they're calling to get the gas and lights hooked up, and all of those other things, and beginning to live life as responsible adults, and as it will be for them moving forward.
Oh,
we're really excited about that.
Sleep so well at night.
Yeah.
So what's the coolest thing that has happened with one of your youth in the last month?
So I know exactly the answer to that question. And so this young man joined the armed forces, and I'm not sure which branch he was in, but he joined the armed forces at 18, was there until 21, finished his tour of duty, got out, and became homeless because he didn't have much money and didn't have any place to go. So he came into our program, just graduated in the last month or so as an EMT, and is being courted by the city of San Diego, the city of Santee, which is east of San Diego, and a couple of other agencies to hire on with them to train to be a firefighter.
Oh.
And this young man is just amazing, absolutely amazing. So we have, and we're like, you are just so cool. You have done so well. You have such an amazing future ahead of you. We are just so incredibly proud of him, because the whole point of this is not allowing their past to determine their future. And even though they were homeless, even though they might have gone through trauma, even though there was a situation, that doesn't mean that they have to continue in that situation. And we're helping them recognize that.
Oh, that gives me double decker God bumps. I'm telling you, that is so cool. So what's the next, what's the next goal, the next dream that you're looking? I'm very impressed with the Padres in the trade school. That's really wonderful. So what do you think on those things is coming up next?
So next thing for us is more beds. So we have 100, and so in the homeless shelter business, it's counted by the number of beds. It's important for us to always remember is that bed equals somebody's son or daughter, somebody's grandson or granddaughter, some young person who is the essence and expression of spirit that is on their path. So what's next for us is more beds, is another, because we are full up in downtown San Diego. What's next for us is continuing to look for another building with funding for the building, for the support staff, for all of that, so that we can work to get more young people off the streets of San Diego to the point of not needing this program. Our goal is to not be needed anymore.
Well, I could get behind that. Now, there are a couple of organizations here in Kansas City that I volunteer with, and they have a big gala once a year to earn money for projects like getting on the road. Do y'all have something like that in the works?
We do, and remember 2 years ago, Anson, the affiliated New Thought Network, has their annual retreat at Unity Village in Kansas City, and we as an organization supported Hillcrest Transitional Housing, which is just an amazing organization in Kansas City. So they do what we do on steroids. They are just amazing. So we did an amazing fundraising gala last year. All the staff members involved are still resting and recuperating from that because it is a big undertaking. So we won't do it every year. I bet every 5 years, because that was to celebrate, was that 2 years ago? Yeah, to celebrate our 10th anniversary. So that was 2012. So probably in 3 more years, we'll do it to celebrate our 15th.
Well,
but yeah, it was incredibly successful.
I'm just amazed, just stunned. But what really tickles me personally, because you're my friend, is that that's not all you do.
That is not all I do. No.
You're doing some other pretty cool stuff too, like workshops, and I know guest speaking, but tell us about the workshops.
So I love to visit centers and churches and meet new people and do my 20 or 25 minutes behind the lectern, and that's really cool. But I feel like having the workshop afterwards really drives home whatever the point was I was trying to make, because it's 20 minutes. If you've been in a church service or a service at a center, the talk is 20 or 25 minutes, and then we have music, and then we have announcements, and then we pray, and then we meet our friends afterwards, and whatever was said very often in the talk, because we call it a talk, not a sermon, whatever was said in the talk kind of goes away. And so I want to give you something to take home with you that's going to make a difference in your life. And so I have 5 workshops. First one was the search for inner peace, being at home in muddy water. And it talks about grief and loss and our ability as New Thought people to feel what we feel. And really quickly, the history for this was my husband died about 5.5 years ago, and I had a lot of trouble with my ego allowing myself to grieve, because I'm a New Thought minister, and what we teach is it's all good. Everything is in divine order. Everything is as it should be. All of those other spiritual bypassing toxic positivity statements that keep us from allowing ourselves to feel what we feel. And so I had a lot of some inner conflict trying to come up with permission to allow myself to feel what I felt and grieve. So I created this workshop. I've had amazing feedback, because we in New Thought don't talk about this. And it's so important for us as spiritual beings having a human experience to talk about what we're feeling and grieve and feel the loss and all the rest of that, so that we can move forward. Debbie Ford, one of my favorite authors, wrote, "What you can't be with won't let you be." Because our grief, as you know, our grief and our loss shows up in surprising and wonderful ways. What happened to that pint of Ben and Jerry's ice cream? Why am I getting so upset about this? Where does road rage come from? All of those things from unprocessed, unfelt, and unprocessed emotions. So that was kind of I'm sorry?
Lemon Oreos.
Yes, lemon Oreos. Yes, yep. And there's a story for another time about that. But yes, yeah.
I can't look at lemon Oreos and not think of you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And
So
I'll tell the story. So
God,
my husband died in the airport in Houston on the way home from an Anton conference at Unity Village. And in October of 2018. And so in 2019, I presented this workshop at the Anton conference. And one of the examples that I gave having to do with unprocessed and unfelt grief was for me, it was eating. And so eating the whole package of lemon Oreos. So, which are just a religious experience, and I know religious experiences. So ever since that year in our auction at the Anton retreat, there is at least one package of lemon Oreos. So thank you for mentioning that. So I appreciate that. So the search for inner peace, allowing ourselves to feel that grief and that loss, forgiveness as a process, not an event. And this was big for me because we talk about forgiveness as some kind of magic wand experience. So I'm carrying this grief and I'm carrying this anger and I'm carrying this for however long. Oh, okay, I forgive you.
Right.
Really? So it goes through the experience of forgiveness, but allowing ourselves again to be spiritual beings having a human experience and to express and experience those feelings, the regret, the resentment, the remorse, all of those things, again, as a process, not a magic wand event. Then
it's important because it's not a switch you can flip. And as a process, it might not be finished, but you can at least measure progress. And you can always, if it's a process that you can always do it again. So I really like that.
And Edwene Gaines talks a lot about this. One of my dear friends in her book, The Four Spiritual Laws of Prosperity, she talks about the importance of forgiveness and the fact that you start with, paraphrasing, would you be willing to consider the possibility that maybe you might start thinking about forgiveness?
Yeah.
So just thinking about forgiveness and then move to the next step and then move to the next step and so forth. And this goes for ourselves, this goes for other people, and this goes for God. Because in the workshop, we talked just a little about what's our perception and our idea of our higher power, and does she need forgiveness as well? All right, so there's that. Because in just a few days, it's going to be April 15th, which is tax day. I have a workshop on healing our relationship with money. So many of us come from, all of us were taught about life and about how things work and all the rest of that. And many of us come from that place of ranging from between fear and hysteria and terror related to money. And so how do we look at that? How do we get past that and recognize that money is spirit in expression, just like you are, just like I am? So I'm going to be with my dear friends in Ventura, which is in north of Los Angeles, on Sunday, and we're going to talk about money, happy money, and then healing our relationship with money. So I really look forward to that in honor and celebration of Tax Day. Yep.
Cool.
So, yeah. So timing is everything.
I like that, so that works for me.
Yes. Yep. Then radically content, being, doing, and having enough. And this came to me. So there's this amazing book, Radically Content, written by Jamie Veron. And she writes about enoughness, and I don't know if that's a word or not, but I just used it, so it is now.
Yeah.
And about and paraphrasing again, but in this teaching especially, we're always getting another degree, or we're always taking another class, or we're always doing something else. And that's wonderful. And we should want to improve ourselves and learn more about life and all the rest of that. But at what point do we sit down and, like God did on the seventh day, say, it is good? At what point do we allow ourselves to honor how far we've come? And yes, I'm not done. And yes, there's more to do. But right now, in this moment, I am enough. And I'm not, because I'm not my BMI. I'm not my bank balance. I'm not my list of my alphabet soup after my name with my list of degrees. I'm not anything outside myself. I am the beloved. And right now, right here, I am enough. So we talk about that.
I love that's my favorite so far, because I love that enough thing. It's oddly enough is much harder to wrap your arms around enough than it
really
is to
Yes.
wrap your arms around forgiveness, or to wrap your arm, because enough is a claim you have to make for yourself. So that's superb. But I want to hear about this new one coming up, because it sounds pretty good.
Okay, so I love visiting centers and churches and offering a workshop, and the one that I was visiting a month or so ago, I'd done several of the workshops, and I said, so we can go back and do this again, or do this again, or I can come up with something new. And my contact said, well, let's do something new. And I said, oh, great. So what do we do? And the still small voice said, well, here's what you do. So I'm using the amazing book, The 5 Agreements. No, I'm sorry, The 5 Invitations. Robert, I forget his last name, but it's the 5 invitations related to getting ready to die. But there are also the 5 invitations inviting us this afternoon to do something, to change the way we look at life. And so the topic of the workshop, the title of the workshop is Change is Good, You Start, Navigating the Inevitable. Because everything, our physical bodies, nature around us, our relationships, one another, everything changes. The only thing, some wise person, not me, once said, the only thing that's constant is change. And so how do we allow ourselves to accept that, to navigate through that when someone dies, when a relationship changes? Reverend Dr. Sharri and I were talking about this earlier, when a career situation, because back in the day, you were going to work at this company for 35 or 40 years until you retire and then go and sit down. But that's not how it is so much anymore. And so in the talk that I gave a few weeks ago, I talked about the big retail chains, especially in Southern California, that you can name 5 or 6 or 8 that no longer exist. And is that bad? Or is that just how it is? And the technology, we're talking about computer, at the risk of dating ourselves, talking about computer punch cards. I worked for a technology market research company, and we would pick up the phone and call the data processing department back in the day and do a survey about what kind of hardware and software and networking and all the rest of that the companies used. And so IBM and Xerox and Unisys at the time and several other big technology companies would use our information for analysis and sales leads and all the rest of that. And then one day, our largest client decided that they could do for themselves what we were doing for them. And so they canceled their contract. And so in the cancellation process, because it was my account, I got canceled too. So I was lovingly released the end of 2008, which turned out to be the greatest thing that could possibly happen in my life. But the point is, a few years later, that division of that company went away because companies don't need that information. And oh, by the way, if you call in, chances are you're going to get voicemail and not get a return call. So just an example of the technology and the careers and the industries that no longer exist because we're progressing and we don't need that anymore. Is that wrong? Is that bad? Or maybe it just is. And so the opportunity for us is to recognize that changed. What's next for me? That changed. What's next for me? So this is the latest and greatest workshop. Looking forward to doing it for the second time and getting feedback, because of course I want to hear what my folks, how they feel, and if this is making a difference to them. But how important it is for us to recognize that, yeah, I love that. That was awesome, but it's not available anymore. So what's next for me? What good does the universe have next for me?
Yeah.
But the point of all of this is, rather than beating people over the head with the Science of Mind textbook, what is our ministry? And I believe that each of us, whether you're a minister, a practitioner, or a student or not, each of us has a ministry, and that is about sharing what we believe in a way that touches people's hearts and can make a difference in their lives. That's what we're here for.
Yep. Well, 5 seems to be the number today, because in addition to your 5 workshops and your amazing Street Angels, I have 5 questions that I ask all of my guests.
Okay.
Okay, so here's the first one, and this is the one the guests like most. Is there anything you want to talk about today? Anything you think is important for folks to know that I haven't asked you about?
So the only other thing is, so in addition to the other 2, I am honored to be the board president of the Affiliated New Thought Network, or ANTN. We are a membership organization of New Thought centers and churches, including Unity Religious Science and Divine Science, as well as Independence. So we have about 150 members who are centers and churches or individuals, ministers, practitioners, and individuals. So you don't have to necessarily be a minister or practitioner to be a member of the organization. It is amazing. It is such an awesome organization. That's how you get to meet the most incredible people, including Reverend Dr. Sharri. We do a retreat every year in October at Unity Village outside of Kansas City. And the organization offers a monthly Thought Leader Thursday call, the last Thursday of the month, just a variety of things open to everyone. And so the website just went flying by, www.anton.org. You can go there for more information. So that's the other thing.
Now, you left out something in your description of Anton that folks might need to know about, and that is that in addition to Thought Leader Thursday, there's also an Anton call to prayer the second Tuesday of every month, which is really powerful. It's immediately precedes my show, so I that's my lead into doing Global Focus today.
Yes, thank you for that. Right.
Great. Hey. Yep. So and it's on the website too, so you can just go there and click and get registered.
Great.
Okay, next question. How does, and you can take this from the perspective of workshops, ministry, or street angels, or the whole thing, just you in general. How does what you do encourage, advance, support, pick your own verb, world peace?
So we sing at the CSL center where I attend and guest speak once a year. We sing at the end of the service, excuse me, let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. So rather than coming from the place, and I think it was John Major several years ago sang the song Waiting for the World to Change. So rather than waiting for those people to do what they need to do, when we come from this place of oneness, from this place of forgiveness, from this place of abundance, from this place of welcoming inclusion and acceptance and unconditional love, and treat others in our lives with all of those attributes or gifts, then we share that with them. They share that with the people that they come in contact with, who share that with the people that they come in contact with, and so on and so on. But we can't wait for somebody else to do the work. It's imperative for each of us to do the work.
I love asking that question because the answers are always so wonderful. Okay, now this one sounds like the same question, but it's not quite.
Okay.
How does what you do encourage, enhance, develop, unveil conscious evolution?
So I have the opportunity to work. So I work 3 days a week at Urban Street Angels, and my desk is in the room with all the peer support people and case managers. And so we have youth in our program come in and be really excited about this happened, or really upset because this happened and this person is making me crazy, and so on and so on. And so I have the opportunity to talk very often with some of the youth and say, why does this bother you so much? And is there another way to look at this? And so with the workshops plus the opportunity, the one-on-one opportunity, I believe, again, it's healing, it's changing minds, it's recognizing the truth of a situation, and maybe I could look at this, the collective I could look at this differently.
Wow. I like that. That's one of the best answers I've gotten to that question.
Oh, good.
Okay, here's the next one. You have to close your eyes for this one. It requires imagination. Okay. Presuming that every single detail comes out exactly the way you want it to. Every event, every relationship, every encounter, every historical thing, everything turns out exactly the way you want it to be. What does your life look like, your ministry look like 10 years from now?
So the book that I talked about the last time I was with you is written, and maybe a third one. Urban Street Angels. No. 10 years from now, Urban Street Angels no longer exists because there are no more youth in this age group who are homeless. And we've worked and loved and supported ourselves out of a job.
Well, that's definitely the best answer I ever got to that one.
Yeah.
Okay, that's 4. Here's the 5th one. Will you come back?
Absolutely.
Okay,
my
hold on.
my
For me,
great
I've got a calendar right here. Okay, my next opening is October 8th. Can I plug you in?
Actually, I think I would love to do October 8th if you don't mind doing it live and direct from Unity Village, because that's the week of the Anton retreat.
Perfect, because then we can do a live interview. See, I do a live one every year when we have our retreat. So we'll do you then. Yippee! Oh boy.
That'd be awesome. Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. Yay.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, folks, and next week we have Reverend Dr. Claire Summerhill, who is coming back to talk to us about walking on water. You don't want to miss it. See you then. Bye-bye.
Amazing, amazing. You will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing. You will do amazing things.
On behalf of everyone at New Thought Media Network, thank you for being a member of our virtual family. Your financial contributions help share the New Thought message with people from around the world. Please visit and contribute at www.ntmedia.org/donate. New Thought Media Network. Come be you. And please like, share, and subscribe. Until